Welcome to the Kevin Clancy Show. I've been in this game over a decade, and I knew I needed a place where I could run wild on my own solo podcast, where I tell personal stories, I deep dive into conspiracy theories, we rip through the current events of the day, and we do sit-down conversations with the most interesting people on the internet. Make sure you click subscribe so you don't miss an episode. What's up, you mutts? It's another episode of the Kevin Clancy Show. It's the Spike Tour Phase 3, Episode 2. It's the Behind the Blog edition for November. Every single month, we go behind the blog with one of your favorite Barstool personalities to find out who they are, how they got to where they're at. And today, another monster edition. It's Biz Nasty, Paul Bissonnette on the show, 1/3, 1/4 of the Spittin' Chicklets podcast. He's just one of the most successful podcasters in the game, one of the most successful professional athletes who transitioned into the world of entertainment and comedy. And he's one of just like the best dudes I've gotten the chance to meet here. The whole Spittin' Chicklets gang is one of the nicest groups of guys who have succeeded. Out of every comedy act, podcast group, whatever in the internet world, you know, the people who make it like monster big are sometimes you know, they're not as friendly as they could be, or as gracious or humble. And all those guys, Whitney, Biz, Rear Ads, and Grinelli, are always the first people to like give credit and talk about people who came before them at Barstool, and the producers, and the behind the scenes people, and everybody who helps make Spittin' Chicklets be the huge success that it is. So very happy to have him on. We got to do Whitney next for sure, and get Rear Ads in here eventually to hear all their sides of it. But the Spittin' Chicklets story is one of the best here at Barstool. It's just an absolute monster. So we'll do that. I got to get into the situation with Dave, of course. We're going to talk about it finally. I feel like it's more of a spot. I'm not going to tweet about it, and it's not really a KFC radio type of thing, so I saved my thoughts for here. So we'll get into everything on the podcast. It's brought to you by 3Chi, the Dave situation. I'm going to speak about it in three parts, if you will. There are three pieces to this that I think need to be addressed, or how I view it. There is the motive behind it, the article. There is the content of the article, and there is the execution of the article. So, and I think they all play into it, because I think that this is a bigger picture, a bigger story than just individual allegations. I think it has to do with who Dave is, who Barstool is, how big it's gotten, how wealthy and successful he's gotten, how many enemies he and we have made over the years. And I think this all was coming to a point. And so you can't look at this as just like a individual allegation. You can't look at this as just a isolated incidents. This is all a product of everything that's been going on, from Me Too to cancel culture, to the rise of the internet, to the rise of Dave and Barstool, the cutting out of the middleman in entertainment and Hollywood and success. You don't need to have agents and agencies and executives and everybody put you on. You can just be a guy who gets big and successful and changes the game and becomes an enemy, and you know, you're not playing by the rules. And it can become this situation where there's a lot more going on than just what's written in that article. So I think the motive behind it is clear. Like this to me, Business Insider is a garbage website, just like Barstool was one day. Like, to me, they're just like a blog. They're just like a smut peddling blog, looking for their clicks, looking for their attention. It's not some prestigious publication. It's not something anybody trusts or even really knows. And I think that's a big part of it, because framing this as like this investigative journalism is garbage. This is not like somebody did this investigation and was searching for the truth and wrote this piece and put it out there for the people to decide and read, and whatever their opinion is the outcome of it all. That's unequivocally the opposite of what happened. This was a person who had an idea and was searching for that confirmation bias, where it's like, I'm going to find whatever it is that proves what I already think to be true. And then when they put it out, I think you can confirm that's the way that was approached, because then when they put it out and it didn't have that reception, they went and continued on trying to call advertisers and trying to persuade people to, basically believe what the article didn't prove to be true. Like, if you need to be calling up if the advertisers don't read that article and come to that conclusion on their own, and you need to call them up to try to convince them to drop Barstool, then that article, the public has spoken. Really. And if you have to have a follow-up hit piece, or we need more allegations, or we're going to call you to make another argument, well, I think that proves that A, it kind of failed, and B, you had this motive from the beginning. Because if you truly were some unbiased reporter, investigative journalist who was doing this in the search of truth and whatever, and you put it out there and the public reads it and it's kind of like, well, this seems jarring and maybe distasteful or a little unsavory based on people's personal preferences, but there's nothing illegal here, so whatever, we move on, then that's that. That would have been what the journalism proved to be true. So the fact that they needed to follow up and try to continue to smear, I think proves that they had an agenda from the very beginning, which is an important part of it, because if you go into it seeing red and trying to make it happen, you're gonna. It's the old saying, like, everything is a nail to a hammer, or whatever the fuck that saying is. Like, that's what we had here. And that's what people have had for years when it comes to Dave. They're trying to prove something that they don't even really, there is no truth behind it, and it's hard for them to find it, so they have to dig and dig and dig until they find anything that can fit it. Now, that's where you come into the content of it. That's what she was able to find. In the 8 months of digging, she found these two situations that where there are no legal charges, which I think is a huge part of this, and there are mitigating circumstances when it comes to reading the details and reading their allegations. To me, when there is a part up front that says this girl had a rape fantasy, I think that is a very big piece of the puzzle. I think for the second girl, where the part of the article said she did not think that this was assault, I mean, those are two pieces of that article that it's going to turn those two allegations into he said, she said, or into a discussion about the lines that can be crossed during sex and anything of that matter. That's where I think that this article really leaves it up to the reader to decide what they believe. Because until there's any legal charges, and there aren't in this case, it's your opinion, really. As a reader, as a consumer, it's up to how you view things. If the police are involved and there's a court of law and a jury and a judge and they decide it, well, then that's the decision. That's what happened. When there's not that, and it really is just, in some case, rumors or allegations or just, illicit details, it's up to whoever reads it to draw their own conclusions. And I would venture to guess, after watching this all unfold for about a week, I would guess that the average consumer, reader, person who may know Barstool, doesn't know Barstool, kind of knows Barstool, they're gonna arrive at the decision of Dave didn't do anything illegal, and some of the details of his sex life are shocking, jarring, and make some people uncomfortable. Like, there are going to be people who think that a big age difference between a man and a woman is unsavory. That's a personal thing that some people like, some people don't like. That's not illegal. That's neither here nor there. That's just a personal preference for some people. There are all sorts of different types of sex. There's going to be rough sex. There's going to be good sex. There's going to be bad sex. If you have a bad sexual encounter, that is unfortunate, and it can be something where I think people read about it or see it or learn about the details, and it's like, whoa, that's a lot to take in. But again, until there's anything illegal, it's more just about like how you receive it. I mean, I can speak from my own experience of going through my own scandal where I had personal details and salacious details of my sex life put out there, that when you write an article about someone, you use certain words, you use certain quotes, you use certain details that are like the illicit details and the salacious parts of everything. You can paint a picture where everyone who reads it are going to just draw the conclusion that this person looks like a scumbag. I looked like one, Dave looked like a scumbag based on certain pieces of the way that you're being written about. But that's where I think that it leads people to draw their own conclusion. And in the end, this, just like every other hit piece and scandal and drama and fight that we've ever had here, it always ends up the same way. The people who like us will continue to like us based on what they know about our character and who we are and what we, the type of person that we really are. They continue to like us and rally around it. And the people who don't like us will continue to dislike us, continue to hate us. And it's so the people who do like Dave are going to focus on the aspect that he didn't commit any crimes, that this isn't rape or sexual assault. And the people who don't like Dave will focus on the fact that there's an age gap between him and the girls that he was seeing, and that the type of sex that he has is very rough, and that's very, off-putting to some people. So each side will look at, they'll view it through the lens they want to view it, because at the end of the day, that's all this is. And that's why I, again, having gone through it myself, firmly believe that, writing this kind of shit about people's personal lives and sex lives when you don't know all the details, when you only know some of the details, when a lot of it is he said, she said, or an incomplete picture, it's just not a fair thing to put somebody through when it's like, this is just incomplete. That's why that's why painting this as like some sort of investigative journalism is fucking crazy. And that brings me to the last point here before we get into the interview, the execution of this whole article. To wrap it all up, it's brought to you by Bare Bottom Clothing. I'm rocking Bare Bottom right now. These shirts right here. I have, in this color, I have the long sleeve tee and the short sleeve tee. In the blue, I have both kinds. In the green, in the red, in the black. I have every single color possible of Bare Bottom with their soft tech tees. I'm wearing the Barstool, the Bare Bottom joggers right now. These are the denim black joggers. I have them also in like a khaki chino color. I wear them every single day. I also have them in olive. I've got the denim knit hoodie. I mean, virtually every piece of Bare Bottom clothing I have at this point. If I'm not wearing just my like lounge clothes, I'm not going out for the day, I'm wearing Bare Bottom. It's really like my absolute everyday clothing pick. If you are like me, you want to be stylish, but you don't want to look like you're trying too hard. You don't want to be, Steve Buscemi. How do you do, fellow kids? You want to just wear something that's classic and timeless and comfortable. Bare Bottom's where it's at. Go to Bare Bottom Clothing. It's the animal, bear, BEAR, bottomclothing.com. .com/Clancy. Go to Bare Bottom Clothing, bear like the animal, BEAR, bottomclothing.com/Clancy, and you'll get $5 off your first order. That's barebottomclothing.com/Clancy, $5 off that first order, and you're gonna look good, feel good, play good. So the execution of the article, that's something I think, like, as someone who has written before on the internet, or even as just someone who has consumed and read on the internet, I think objectively, if you look at that article, it's garbage. Like a very poorly written article that I cannot believe it has, even was even given the traction it was, because it's garbage. Just like poorly written from a sense of the details they included and where the article went. I mean, the fact that we had quotes from the girl who was in Barstool Idol talking about her eyebrows? What world are we in? The fact that Bob Murchison was involved? Why the fuck was Bob Murchison from the Kirk Minahan portion of the Barstool cinematic universe brought into this? Why was that even involved? That's a whole other fucking circus that has nothing to do with these girls. Nothing. Why were we still talking about size 6 skinny jeans joke? Why are we still talking about the Barstool Blackout Tour? The most hack, rehashed, cliche, old, tired bullshit from forever ago still being brought up. I could not believe that. That was stunning to me. That was like... This article was like a couple paragraphs about allegations, and then the majority of it is this same old bullshit hit piece. That to me was stunning, that I can't believe people weren't like, wait a minute, they're leaning on the same old tropes that they always did for Barstool. I thought that putting it behind a paywall is absolutely insane. I know that other publications do this. I know like The Athletic put their articles about some of the Trevor Bauer and Mickey Callaway and some of the like sexual allegations that went around through Major League Baseball. I think they're kind of like, hey, if our model is that you got to pay for articles, then we're doing that with our funny articles and our happy articles, and we're also doing it with our serious articles. I think that's crazy. I think anytime you're talking about something that you believe to be serious, where you're trying to put out a message, or you're trying to speak out for the voiceless, or speak for victims, or whatever see, that's the point. If that was their intention, if that's what they came in thinking, if that was what their motive was, I don't think they put it behind a paywall. And I definitely don't think you put out a tweet and like an advertisement saying, subscribe now. If you sign up for like this many months, you get a discount and you can read about the Dave Portnoy article. That is fucking insanity. That, to me, didn't get enough. I know there was some people dragging him for that. That is trash behavior. That is like gross, exploitative, garbage people behavior to be like, well, we got this big article and you got to pay for it now. Like, behind a paywall, bad enough. I think that's crazy, but at least you can fall back on like that's our model. That's how we make money, to pay for our writers, investigative journalists. But then to use that as your advertising, as your promo, as your bait. That's what you're doing. You're using Dave Portnoy and these allegations as your bait to get more subscribers. I mean, that is unconscionable, incomprehensible, repugnant, repulsive. Thought that was nuts. Also, if you're going to include that, if you're going to include that one girl has a rape fantasy and one girl says that said she did not believe it was sexual assault, to then be throwing the words like rape and assault around, like that's some bullshit too. At no point does Business Insider like say he is that or he did commit that, but it's just like, what do they call that? Dog whistling or whatever, where, I'm just going to leave this right here, lead you to believe it, and then paint that picture. That's bullshit too. So at the end of the day, really what you did was write about the details of someone's sex life that includes a large age gap and explicit details of sexual encounters that did not go so well for somebody involved, which is horrible, and you never want that to be the case. But that's really, at the end of the day, what happened here. So to me, it can all be summed up as questionable motive, extremely questionable execution, and when it comes to the details involved, while they are jarring, while they can be upsetting, while it's something that you hope like never happens again, you certainly don't want to see it, and you don't want anybody to be involved in anything like that. It's not illegal. It's simply distasteful, according to some people's opinions. So that leaves the public up to decide what they want about Dave Portnoy. And that's where people are going to make their own judgment call based on either this article or their previous experiences with Dave and with Barstool. In some cases, it's a good experience. In some cases, when people think about Dave and Barstool, they think about the Barstool Fund. We raised, $40 million for people in need during the pandemic. Or you think about every time there's been a fallen officer or firefighter, or the marathon victims where we raise money, or cancer victims. That's what some people think. Other people think of some of our less stellar moments where we haven't looked so great, or we've had jokes that have missed, or we've had moments where we, unfortunately, unintentionally upset someone or harm someone. So it depends on what your experience is with Barstool, and namely in this case with Dave. Now, some people there was a avalanche of Barstool employees tweeting on that Thursday afternoon, which I thought, I was in the studio. I wasn't really watching social media for a couple hours. By the time I came out, I would say like 90% of Barstool Sports had tweeted that Dave was an honest man. They all used the word honest, and they all put in their personal experience. And I actually thought it didn't look great, because it almost looked like it was an initiative that we were told to do, which is the polar opposite. Dave sent an email to everyone saying, I'm sorry that, that this will reflect on you and you have to go through this, but you can say or not say whatever you want. As always, Dave leaves all his employees alone to do what they want to do and say what they want to say and feel what they want to feel. So there was no directive or anything like that, but it looked that way because it was so fucking ridiculous that everybody was saying the same thing. And I can understand the opposite side, the Barstool haters, being like, this is absurd. Okay, good for you that you know Dave and he lets you do your podcast, but do you know what Dave is like in the bedroom? Have you ever had sex with Dave? Do you know what, like, those two things have nothing to do with each other. So yeah, Dave can be a good boss and like an honest guy, but that is nothing, that doesn't confirm or deny these allegations. So I thought that totally looked ridiculous. From my own point of view, I will just say this. As far as that video goes, Dave's video, the 2-part reaction, I thought that was one of the best pieces of most honest, I don't want to say honest, one of the most truthful, no, it's the same fucking thing, authentic. He just meant it. You could tell he meant it. I thought one of the best parts of that, where I really think if you're being honest with yourself about how that looks, when he says, my lawyers and my people are telling me that I shouldn't say anything about that, but that's not who I am. If I know what you're talking about, I will speak on it. That was the most raw and authentic thing he said. And you know he's coming from a place of reality, of honesty, of I'm not going to do what, you know, PR tells me to do or what anyone else tells me to do. I'm just going to talk about this. And so if you know, the same way I talked about the motives of the article, the motive of that video was more not to like defend himself really necessarily. It was like to talk about the truth of the situation. And I think you could tell that by that one part of the video. Right there, you know that everything else coming after that is the truth as he knows it. And I'll tell you the real reason you know when Dave is being real. Not even necessarily truthful or honest or all the buzzwords that we were throwing around that. When he's being real is when he goes Danny Boy Kane on him. I cannot even believe it happened. But in Dave Portnoy's response video to the fight of his life, when it's all said and done, this will be the biggest fight of his career and his life as a man. He went Danny Boy Kane at no point, he dropped a triple at no point on him to prove his point. And that's how you know Dave is being real. When he does an Internet 1.0, Danny Boy Kane, and when he's referencing the blog and the internet and the world around him that cultivated him and created him and raised him, that's when you know he's being real. So take it for what it's worth. You can make your own judgment calls about who he is, who he sleeps with, how he fucks, how he treats girls in the DMs, whether or not he is a classy guy, whatever. All those. I'm just saying, you know you're getting real Dave when he goes Danny Boy Kane. And that's really how, like, that's how this all comes together. It's like you decide based on the content of it, based on the delivery of it, you put all that together and you draw your own conclusions about what you think went on, what you think this person is, what you think this person is not. And that's all this really ends up being is, it's more of like another editorial, like describing, you know, it's another chapter of who Dave is. Yes, part of the book of Dave Portnoy is going to be that he is an older guy who sleeps with younger girls. Part of it is going to be that he is a dude who has some crazy rough sex that has had that leak out and has had explicit details of their sex leak out. For some people, that makes you clutch your pearls and say, oh my God, this guy disgusts me. Some people are like, I don't know, that's like what I do too, or how other people have sex. That is left up to you. As long as you're not talking about anything illegal or anything crossing the line, then you're just left to draw your own conclusions about the guy. At the end of the day, I think the people, no matter what it is, until you talk about, officially being charged with something, committing a crime, felonies, assault, evidence, any of that, at the end of the day, it comes down to the opinion of the people who are consuming these articles and these hit pieces and these write-ups on Barstool. And the opinions are always going to just fall into the two camps. If you already like us or if you already hate us. And it's just going to basically be that way. The people who like us will continue to like us and defend the fact that it wasn't illegal. The people who don't like us will continue to bash on Dave and say that they think he's gross because of some of his habits. And then maybe you lose some people in the middle each time to either side. But it's become like political. It's become like a feud on the internet, and it's around and around we go. So that's that. We'll get into the behind the blog section of the show. It's Paul Bissonnette, Biz Nasty, in one of the best interviews from one of the best guys, because he's just got a heart of gold and a very sharp business mind, while also having kind of a very like dopey, friendly, social mind. It's like if he was the jock, if we're gonna be stereotypical about it. He's a big fucking hockey enforcer type, right? But also has this very sharp business acumen about him. It's a very interesting dichotomy, a very cool paradox that leads to one of the most interesting people I've ever gotten the pleasure to talk to. So it's Behind the Blog featuring Paul Bissonnette. It's brought to you by Barstool Bites. It's our new food empire that we are growing here, Barstool Bites. Let me tell you the best part about Barstool Bites. Let me tell you the two best parts about Barstool Bites. The first thing is the quality of the food, because we sat down and did a tasting with celebrity chefs from Chopped and America's Top Chef, or whatever those are called, Top Chef shows. So these are like high quality, kind of gourmet takes on your favorite bar foods and American grub. So it's like all your favorite things like wings and sliders and dips and chips and tenders and all that shit. Just elevated. And we address some of like the logistics stuff. Like I was like, I hate when all my food is soggy and my fries are soggy. So let's find a delivery container that fixes that problem. So we got these tubs with these plastic coverings that are the best way for food to travel. We also did things like if you order chicken wings and chicken tenders, they come dry with dry rubs and house blend rubs. And then you get the sauces on the side for you to toss them in. So when they get there, then you can put them in the sauce and they don't get all sloppy and greasy. So we figured out the best way to get good food, great food, to you. And you can do it on the Barstool Bites app. We have our own app set up that will find a location near you that can deliver all the food inspired by your favorite Barstool personalities, like KFC, Kevin Francis Clancy, chicken wings, like the Glenny Ball sliders, like the Feidelberg dip, like the Kelly Keegs dessert. We got the menu from top to bottom. We got you covered on all of the courses of your dinner right now when you download your app. Go to the App Store or Google Play to download it, or you can go to barstoolbites.com and get your food delivered today. Check for the delivery options near you. That's barstoolbites.com, or download the Barstool Bites app on iOS or Google Play. It's Paul Bissonnette, Biz Nasty, on Behind the Blog.
When I went to school,
back in my day,
we used to... I don't even have anything to say. Because I never went to school.
You never did.
We're good to go.
Yeah?
You guys want to start rolling?
Yeah, all right. You good, Mike?
I'm all set.
You never went to school, huh, Biz?
I never went to college. Actually, I did go to college. I went to Davenport University when I was playing with the Saginaw Spirit, because they forced you to go to school.
Uh-huh.
So I got a credit, and I think it was English and psychology.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What'd you learn in the psychology class?
Absolutely. I slept all the time. All the time. Although I tried to use it as a pickup line one time. I said,
no.
A girl asked me what I was, she's like, what are you studying? And I said, psychology. And I said, Siegfried and Roy.
You dumb fuck.
And she's like, the magicians? Like, she didn't really understand the correlation.
My God.
Yeah, and so it's Siegfried and Roy.
Siegfried Roy.
See, you don't even
No, I don't.
know.
I know it's not Siegfried Roy. It's Sigmund
Freud. Sigmund Freud.
Yes.
So I said Siegfried and Roy. Is that the magician that got ripped up by the lion?
That's the tiger lion tamers. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh well, traditional fuck up from Biz. That's kind of how it
I was
usually
gonna
goes.
say.